Welcome to the Sit Down Episode 4. I'm Daniel and I'm your host. We have a lot going on in sports to kick off March. We have the NBA and NHL getting to the end of their seasons and some playoff spots looking like they could get locked up later in the season in that last 10-game stretch. But we have a lot to review before that, including the NFL Combine and NFL Free Agency, which will make up all of this show so far. So let's kick it off with NFL Free Agency, where there has been a lot of surprising moves made by teams so far, starting off with the New England Patriots releasing Stefon Diggs. This is a very surprising move for me. It doesn't make sense for New England, who has a ton of cap space to work with headed into the offseason, for a team that just made the Super Bowl for the first time in not too long, Patriots fans. But Stefon Diggs was a great player that eclipsed over 1,000 yards and was amazing for this Patriots team, who finally found their wide receiver one in him. Now he gets released, and it's unprecedented, and no one knows what's going on. His contract details were 3 years, $63 million, so he would have been getting paid $21 million a year. But this doesn't really make sense, and it really tells me that Stefon Diggs was a locker room cancer for this team. Another explanation for why a premier receiver like him leaves the Patriots and is now on the market once again. There were games where he had 8 and 9 catches leading the team and had over 120 yards receiving. He was very good for this team and very crucial for a lot of their wins this season. I think that this move shows that, yes, possibly they could be in market for a guy like Alec Pierce, who I think is the safe option, but I'll talk about that later, and another receiver in A.J. Brown, who you would have to pay just about the same rate, but he might have upside with talent. The New England Patriots making this move is very awkward and at kind of bad timing, just coming off that Super Bowl berth where Stefon Diggs expressed that he was very, very grateful to be on that team. I don't know what the Patriots will be doing moving forward, but expect them to be in market for another wide receiver one. Let's move on. Let's talk about David Montgomery, who just went to the Texans. The Texans are getting what they think is their running back one into the room. Meanwhile, guys like Kenneth Walker and Travis Etienne are still on the market. I don't think that David Montgomery is an RB1, and I do think that the Texans will still be shopping around or trying to keep Joe Mixon so that they will be an RB by committee team. But you need this because you need some stability around CJ Stroud and this offense. What went wrong for this team was when they were in the playoffs and they couldn't get the run game going, and they had to rely on Stroud's arm. What they know is they've had 3 consecutive years of them making the Final Four in the AFC, making that divisional round, and they know that if they can keep this band together, they can play the defense that they did last year, that they still have a chance, and they are not too far from making it to the big game. At least that is what they will think with a quarterback like CJ Stroud. I would like to say otherwise, but bringing in David Montgomery brings a lot more stability, and I would expect them to keep shopping around or draft a running back, because this room right now is going to look a little dirty and you need to clean it up. Let's move on. McDuffie. He is going to the Los Angeles Rams in a blockbuster trade, the first one of the offseason. He is going to the Rams. In exchange, the Chiefs will get a 2027 third-round pick, along with the picks this year, a 29th overall pick in the first round, and they get a 5th and 6th round pick. This is a big haul for the Chiefs, who are not really keen to signing cornerbacks, and the Rams, this is not out of the ordinary either, where Les Snead is saying F them picks, and he is going to give it all on the line to get this team to the Super Bowl, and back to the Super Bowl for the first time in a couple of years. I think that the Rams had a huge void to fill at this exact position, and doing it by filling it with a guy like Trent McDuffie, who could be an all-pro cornerback, is a great move for the Rams, and I think it's a great move for the Chiefs, who are trying to find their footing and have a lot more gaps to fill as this offseason progresses. I think getting more picks, the way the organization has been ran and the way they have been hitting on picks, this is great, and it benefits both teams. I don't think there is somebody that's in the wrong here. I think that this could be, for the Rams, the exact piece they needed to get over the hump and beat a team like Seattle. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Bills. They had a trade for DJ Moore, not quite a blockbuster trade. The Bills get DJ Moore and a 5th-round pick in exchange for a 2nd-round pick. I don't think this is a huge trade. I think that DJ Moore has been overvalued at times, but this for sure does get the Bills a wide receiver 1. Diggs is also back on the market, so if you don't care about the locker room stuff, you could pair Diggs with DJ Moore and really have a good receiving core that has a lot of upside, but right now would be evaluated as a middle-of-the-pack receiving core. You also have an all-pro running back in James Cook, you have an all-pro quarterback in Josh Allen, and you have a new coach coming in who wants this offense to be bolstered as much as possible. This wasn't a surprising move to me as they move forward, but I do think that there is a reason that the Bears let DJ Moore go. Yes, DJ Moore had a huge catch late in the season for the Bears to help them move on. But other than that, he didn't do a ton for this team. He was great, and he was that wide receiver 1 on the team, but he really didn't show the flashes that we wanted him to in his tenure with Caleb Williams, and going forward, he was just going to be painfully average for what you signed him for. I think this is a great move to move off of him by the Bears, who are not going to end up paying his $40 million guaranteed now. That's going to go right to the Bills, and they're going to have to deal with it. So if DJ Moore falls off, this will make the Chicago Bears look good, and if he doesn't, and he pans out very well with a guy like Josh Allen, I think that the Bills could end up looking very smart in this. I think it is a mutually beneficial parting of ways by both teams, and I think that this could be maybe the piece the Bills needed. Personally, DJ Moore isn't that great. I think they're going to have to pair him with someone else, but if they do that, DJ Moore has a lot of talent, and this team could go far. As we say every year. Let's move on. Let's talk about Kyler Murray, some landing spots for him. Now, for me, the most sense is lying with the Vikings, who have Kevin O'Connell, and they are looking for a new quarterback, and one that will compete with J.J. McCarthy no matter what in training camp. I believe that Kyler Murray would insert himself immediately and be that quarterback 1 in that room. He would win the competition. I think that you will see a more disciplined Kyler Murray moving forward, and when we look at it statistically, he is not too far behind some of the best quarterbacks in the league when we talk about Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. In yards per game, not much behind. You could name any other stats. He's not going to be behind in a ton of them. He has a cannon for an arm. The only thing is, yes, he is short. He needs to be able to see over his line. He needs to have plays and a good running game with him so that he can become a dynamic player. There's a lot that goes into this. The Vikings make the most sense to me, but there are other teams that could be involved, like the Steelers, Browns, and Jets. Do I think that there would be any success stories there? No, but I think those teams could be involved just because they're in market for a quarterback, especially the Browns and Jets. If you go there, you are not going to be a great quarterback just because the organization around you is not providing you with what you need. But if you were to go to the Steelers, you could convince Kyler Murray that he's going to have DK Metcalf and a lot of other weapons to work with as that team progresses into being a better version of what they were last year. There's a lot that goes into this, but I do think that another team, a wild card team that could be in the market for him, is the Los Angeles Rams. As they see Matthew Stafford getting older and contemplating retirement just about every year, obviously Matthew Stafford winning the MVP does say to a lot of people that he is going to have a couple more years in him. But if you get Kyler Murray into the system, and for a cheap price that he's not going to want a ton of money, maybe he wants 25 to 30 million and you can fit that into your cap, I think that's great for a Rams team that has Sean McVay and has a guy on their offensive staff like Cliff Kingsbury who is going to elevate Kyler Murray the same way he did when he entered the league. I think that that duo of McVay and Kingsbury could really change the trajectory of Kyler Murray's career. They could collaborate together and figure out what he needs to work on, how he needs to be more disciplined, and I think that would work for a quarterback like him who has struggled in this league with discipline and with making those big plays, especially in the playoffs. When you are the Rams, you can make this move, hopefully at a cheap rate, and have a guy ready to go as soon as your team loses its best player. Let's move on. Let's talk about Jermiyah Love. Jermiyah Love is probably the most talked about draft prospect coming into the NFL draft, which will happen next month, there are a lot of teams that will be in market for him, and there's a lot of teams that many think will, but I don't think so. I think Jermiyah Love will go top 10. I think he's had a great combine, and of course, I did tell you last time that would elevate him. So I think there's a lot of teams that could be involved with this, but the three teams that really stick out to me are the Titans, the Saints, and the Chiefs at 4, 8, and 9. Teams that don't make sense to me include the Cardinals, Browns, and Commanders, who just have a lot more gaps to fill on their team that aren't as important as getting a running back in the room. But here's what I want to say. So the Titans make sense to me because they have Cam Ward and they want to put a running back that is going to stabilize that offense the same way Derrick Henry did with Ryan Tannehill into that system. I think it would be great for that team, but I don't think it makes sense for them fully, and I don't think Jermiyah Love goes at 4 just because of that compensation that you're going to get for him. They need so much more on their team. It makes sense to me because of the quarterback that you have, but I do think having Bob Saleh as your head coach, that you are going to walk into this room and say, we can draft on the offensive line or defensive line, which this draft is very rich in, and luck out way better than we did when we drafted Jermiyah Love. I think that the Chiefs losing McDuffie is a big loss for them. This is a cornerback-rich draft. It is also a defensive end-rich draft. So I think that if either of those positions at a premier price fall to them, they are going to use that on that position. But in the case that that doesn't happen and Jermiyah Love falls all the way to 9 with guys like Ruben Bain already off the board, the Chiefs could have the possibility of going after Jermiyah Love. Do I think this is risky? Yes, I do. When you have what many believe is the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes, contrary to whatever happened last year, he is still going to be the best quarterback entering this year as far as legacy goes. You want a dynamic running back in that Chiefs offense that is going to pass a lot. I think that they could get someone like Travis Etienne. I think they could get Kenneth Walker, who may not be involved in that pass game as much, but may just be more of a bulldozer and proven back. But I do think there is a possibility that Jermiyah Love could end up in Kansas City. Do I think he'll slide to 9? No, I do not. So what is the team that I think will draft Jermiyah Love? That is the New Orleans Saints at pick number 8. It just makes the most sense because you're getting a backup to Kamara, someone that can learn under him. And when Kamara is not healthy, you have that lead back, and eventually you get to release Alvin Kamara and have a franchise back who may break a ton of records. We've seen it before with the Saints and Reggie Bush and Mark Ingram. They have brought in guys and made them game changers immediately. I think bringing in Jermiyah Love would be great for them, and I think at pick number 8, it wouldn't be a reach. As much as they need to address other positions, I think that this Saints team is good enough to bring in Jermiyah Love and make him an amazing player.